Thank you so much. I am absolutely delighted to speak to the IMF MD. MD, there's so much to ask you about. First of all, you released this morning, thank you for joining us, you released this morning your World Economic Outlook. And actually, it's not too bad, but this is without any expectations of extra trade wars or the spit and spat that we're seeing over Greenland. How much do you worry about all of the trade concerns from 2025 coming back with a vengeance?
Well, let's start with the good news that the world economy has proven to be remarkably resilient. We are projecting 3.3% growth for this year. We expect 3.2% next year. And when we look at the sources of this resilience, four things stand up. One, trade tensions have not been as dramatic as we feared. Yeah. Two, private sector, incredibly agile. Yeah. Three, and we don't talk enough about it, good policies. The fact that governments have developed tools to act responsibly for AI and the promise it holds. So your question is correct. Would this resilience hold? Too early to say what exactly the impacts of new trade tensions is, but we know that when we have more uncertainty, bad for business, bad for households.
But MD, does this feel different? Because this is something over Greenland, so this touches sovereignty. In 2025, what held the economy together is that not many countries retaliated. This could be different.
Well, we shall see. I would not venture into speculations what is going to happen or not happen. What I would say is that it is very important that we recognize we are in a world of unthinkable happening. And in this world, I have one advice to people: stay calm, assess with no emotion where you might want to go.
How difficult is it to assess the impact on the economy if we do have these extra 10% tariffs on certain European countries? Who would lose?
We have run all kinds of simulations of what may happen. And what we do see in this simulation is that we deviate from keeping trade more or less on the right track. That could hold growth down. What I want to stress is that the best way forward, find a path to agreement. And that is going to be good for everybody, everywhere.
I mean, there's, again, quite a lot of, I guess, concern on the ground as President Trump arrives here that they've already left 70 international institutions. Are you worried that they could eventually leave the IMF?
To be very frank, no. I think we are great institution for the members, 191 of them, including the United States. So let me give you two reasons why I'm not worried. Number one, we cost no money. We actually work like a savings account. The US lends money through us. We pay back with interest. For the last 2 years, the US got $3.1 billion in interest from the on-lending they do with us. Number two, we actually are strictly focused on the economy and on reforms. And that is great for everybody's business, including for the US. And there is no other institution, when there is fire, we come and we put it down. And when you look at the world today, Francine, do you know how many fires we are putting down?
Many.
50. We have 50 programs. And of course, our determination is to continue to serve the membership, to be good for business, to be good for households.
You mentioned a lot AI in your World Economic Outlook. How much AI investments are you expecting this year to help the global economy?
Well, what we are seeing is that the enthusiasm to invest in AI is rewarded by profitability so far. So what we expect is to see continuation of this flow of funding in AI at the cost of investing in many other worthy areas. We are not yet worried about frothing that may be like dot-com bubble, but we are cautioning people that they really need to follow very closely the productivity impact of investing in AI. So far, there have been gains, but will they be sustained? Remember, we were assessing the growth impact of the AI between 0.1%, 0.8%. That's a big difference. Yeah. And therefore, the reward on investments is what we are a bit worried. Would it materialize with the scale and the speed that justifies this massive flow?
MD, I also want to ask about two countries specifically. Mm-hmm. One, Venezuela. Mm-hmm. What do you think will happen in Venezuela, especially what we've seen over the last 2 to 3 weeks with the removal of Maduro?
What is specific for our engagement with Venezuela is actually it is non-existent since 2019. Our membership did not recognize the authorities, and at this point has not yet moved towards recognizing them. Nonetheless, we have kept a watchful eye on Venezuela. All through this time, what we see is devastating. The economy shrunk dramatically. Inflation is on the rise. We worry about hyperinflation. 8 million people left the country. In proportion to the population, more than Ukrainians that run away from a war. So how you turn this around, given that there is really no credible data, this is going to be extremely difficult. We are ready. If the membership says, you're good to go, we will immediately step up engagement with Venezuela. And I can tell you, for the people of Venezuela, I just hope that there would be that kind of progress soon.
You've just come back from a trip to Ukraine. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of talk here that actually Ukraine is being forgotten, maybe at the margins because of everything else that's going on. Can you update us on your program there and whether you see the resolve from European leaders to actually do enough?
Let me first say that going to Ukraine was very sobering because this is the worst winter, minus 20 degrees Celsius. This weather here is paradise in comparison. The city is cold, dark, but functional. And that impressed me tremendously, that the streets are cleared so people can go to work, traffic lights work, and actually everybody I talked to shows tremendous strength. I went to visit a power plant that was bombed. How cruel could you be to deprive kids from a chance to go to school because there is no heat, there is no electricity? And in 14 hours, they restored it for 75% of their consumer access to power. So there is that incredible strength of the Ukrainian people. For us, it was demonstrably so throughout the first program. Yeah. We had, as you know, 8 reviews, all completed successfully. Now we are putting forward a new program for Ukraine, very important anchor of macroeconomic and financial stability, so the 90 billion from the EU can flow into Ukraine.